Hello, and welcome once again to Movies That Pop. I'm the Kernel. Let's see what popped up in theaters this week. Jack Reacher, Never Go Back is the sequel that I never wanted, wasn't expecting, and to be honest, sort of forgot was even on its way until I was looking at the schedule of upcoming releases a week or so ago. That said, I remember that the original film was a solid entertainment and a return to now do you remember these? The mid-budget action movies of the 80s and 90s? Movies that didn't feature a boatload of special effects or superheroes or aliens, where the future of the entire world wasn't at stake. Yeah, it was one of those, and done very well. This sequel, however, is also a return to that form, but done sort of lazily and with far lesser impact. The movie doesn't commit any major sins other than being purely conventional. It really basks in the dialogue and plot cliches of the genre and breaks no real new ground. It's just not much more than the sum of its parts. So let's discuss those parts, shall we? Okay, now let's ignore the fact that the film was directed by Edward Zwick, who directed Glory, The Last Samurai, and Blood Diamond, because you'll find none of that spectacle here. This film is as pedestrian as it gets. Hey, he even directed Courage Under Fire, which is probably the best analog to this movie, covering similar thematic and narrative ground, but with none of that previous film's grandeur or gravitas. So let's begin with what works most about this film, and you gotta start with Tom Cruise as former major in the military police Jack Reacher. If you can say anything about Tom Cruise, it's that he is watchable as hell. He could drag a movie from a small bag of popcorn to a medium on charisma alone, and he always gives 110% to every role. I remember being struck in the first film, and again to a lesser degree here, at how Reacher isn't just generic Tom Cruise action star. Cruise makes subtle and interesting choices to create a smart, overly confident, and prudent investigator out of the beloved character from Lee Child's series of novels. If you want to see Cruise in generic action movie mode, go ahead and check out the Mission Impossible films, in which his Ethan Hunt character is really a blank slate, doing whatever the plot requires him to do, moment to moment. The thing that makes those films superior, however, and vastly superior, is that those plots require him to do so many more fun and interesting things at a thrilling and energetic pace. This one, it just requires Jack Reacher to sort of investigate some stuff at, his own pace. Like a brisk jog, maybe. And maybe get into the occasional fistfight. Oh, and kinda sorta bond with an irritating, smart alecky teenager who may or may not be his long-lost daughter. Yes, the movie introduces that old chestnut, and it plays as stale as the last time you saw it. The perfect way to compare the Jack Reacher films to the Mission Impossible films is with the prison escape in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It was visceral, it was multifaceted, it was fun and exciting. Jack Reacher breaks someone out of a military prison in this film, and it's so matter-of-fact as to be almost boring. I also really liked Kobe Smulders in this movie as a major who gets involved with Jack Reacher. She kicks butt believably while maintaining her femininity. She's overall a great action hero, and kinda makes me want to see her carry her own action movie, one that doesn't require her to feign interest in a man old enough to be her father. Hey, here's a fun side note. During one of the movie scenes, an agent is calling out at APB on the radio and describes the fugitives with their ages. For Smulders' character, they give Smulders' actual age, 34. When describing Reacher, they say he's, in his 40s. Tom Cruise is 54. Hollywood. Am I right, ladies? Before I get on to the stuff I really didn't care for, I do want to say that the main baddie, a generic sort of hitman guy, who I spent most of the movie thinking of by the nickname the poor man's Michael Fassbender, well, he sort of grew on me by the film's end, so I'll call him out here. Kudos to Patrick Husinger. Way to rise above the material, Patrick. And oh boy, is this material middle of the road. The dialogue is full of cliches. The plot doesn't contain nearly enough intrigue to hold an audience's attention. And when that happens in an action movie, then the only thing you really have to rely upon for entertainment value is the action scenes themselves. And those scenes, as I mentioned before, just kind of feel incidental, like the aforementioned occasional fistfight. Look, in order to squeak out a recommendation from me, an action movie has to have at least one great action sequence. And Never Go Back has a halfway decent one, I suppose, a climactic cat and mouse chase through New Orleans during a Mardi Gras parade that at least feels a little compelling and looks nice in that dramatic setting. But if you take out the hackneyed plot, the annoying girl character, and the uninteresting mystery at its center, what you're left with is some perfectly pleasant scenes between three of the movie's main characters, and maybe a film that wouldn't make you change the channel if you caught it some Sunday afternoon on cable a year from now. In theaters though, especially in IMAX theaters, which this film is being released into this weekend, Jack Reacher Never Go Back just feels small. So that's what I'd give it, a small bag of popcorn for the theatrical experience. And maybe a year from now, when it's on cable, I'd bump it up to a medium. But everyone involved, from the director to the cast, has either done better work in previous films, or like Smulders and Husinger, are using this occasion to prove how great they can be with better material in the future. That does it for this edition of Movies That Pop. Don't forget to follow me, the Kernel, on Twitter, @MoviesThatPop, and click the icon right down there to visit our channel. You'll be able to view all of our other videos, and more importantly, click subscribe so you can keep up with all the latest episodes, and so we can keep doing what we do. Please leave your comments below. Tell me what you thought of Jack Reacher Never Go Back, what you thought of the original Jack Reacher, and whether you were a fan of the Lee Child novels. Let's talk about all that stuff in the comments below. Click the thumbs up if you like what you heard. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'm the Colonel, and I personally will never go back to this movie.